Today was the first day of hearings for the committee to investigate January 6th. And while there are only 2 Republicans on the committee, what we saw today felt much more actually bipartisan than I think it would have been if the folks who originally had been named to the committee, like Jim Jordan of Ohio and Jim Banks of Indiana, had actually been there. And they were both picked for the committee by Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy and then rejected by Speaker Nancy Pelosi. So instead of a wrestling match or, Benghazi Part 900, today we got actual Republicans, conservative Republicans, Liz Cheney of Wyoming, Adam Kinzinger of Illinois, just they're taking the investigation seriously.
If those responsible are not held accountable, and if Congress does not act responsibly, this will remain a cancer on our constitutional republic, undermining the peaceful transfer of power at the heart of our democratic system. We will face the threat of more violence in the months to come and another January 6th every 4 years. Will we adhere to the rule of law? Will we respect the rulings of our courts? Will we preserve the peaceful transition of power? Or will we be so blinded by partisanship that we throw away the miracle of America? Do we hate our political adversaries more than we love our country and revere our Constitution?
You guys may individually feel a little broken. You guys all talk about the effects you have to deal with, and you talk about the impact of that day. But you guys won. You guys held. Democracies are not defined by our bad days. We're defined by how we come back from bad days.
When Speaker Pelosi chose Liz Cheney and then chose Adam Kinzinger over the objections of their own Republican Party, it was pretty unprecedented. We go through the record. You can't quite find a perfect precedent for it. But I think today showed it paid off. Today's hearing was informative. It was respectful. It was genuinely bipartisan. And honestly, really seems like everyone is better off for it. I want to bring in one of the Democratic members of that committee, Congressman Adam Schiff of California. And first, just start on that. There was a lot of back and forth and a lot of Beltway press sort of second guessing of what went down with Kevin McCarthy's appointments, 2 of them being sort of blocked by the speaker, and then this, arrangement that you ended up with. But to me, it felt like I was transported into a different universe today, and I didn't long to go to the alternate universe of Jim Jordan up on the dais. How did you feel as a member of that committee?
Well, it's interesting that you had introduced the segment this way, because that was exactly my feeling walking out of that hearing today, which is, my God, we got to hear from the witnesses. All the committee members, Democrats and Republicans, were interested in getting to the truth. They were interested in what the witnesses had to say. It was about them and their experience. And it was so breathtaking and in that it was how a hearing should be done. So, yes, very different experience than if we had the McCarthy disruptors on the committee. And I think it was a tribute to these officers the way it should have been, that we heard what they had to say.
I want to play something that Congresswoman Cheney said. She has been very clear about subpoenas and the use of those subpoenas. She even mentioned today the possibility of members of Congress being called as witnesses. Here's what she had to say. Take a listen.
Congressman Jordan may well be a material witness. He's somebody who was involved in a number of meetings in the lead up to what happened on January 6th, involved in planning for January 6th, certainly for the objections that day, as he said publicly. So he may well be a material witness.
Can you imagine calling members of Congress as witnesses in this committee?
I can. I think that all of the members are determined to get to the truth and follow the evidence where it leads. People with relevant knowledge of what went into the planning of that violent attack on the Capitol. They may very well be material witnesses, as Liz Cheney has to say. So no one is off the table. And at the end of the day, if we're going to produce a comprehensive report that makes recommendations about how to protect the country going forward, we can't afford to say, we won't look at this area. We're going to willfully have a blind spot. So, yes, we'll go where the evidence leads us.
I have to say, and I don't know if you're going to be able to answer this honestly, on the record on TV, but I'll ask it anyway. In my conversations with members of Congress, both on air and off, on the record and off, and in my reporting on this, you always come up against this sense from people that there's more to that day than we currently know, and that they kind of know there's more than we know, but can't say anything about it. That is what I have encountered. Now, that might not be true. It might not. It might be. Why does that keep coming up? Why do I keep getting that sense in every interaction that I have reporting on that day?
Well, I'm not going to give you that sense, Chris, because I really have a lot of unanswered questions, and I have a predetermined conclusions. But I will say this: those insurrectionists, many of them, they believed what they were doing was ordered by the commander-in-chief. They believed that the election had been stolen. And a lot of my colleagues in Congress that were pushing the big lie knew it was a lie. And in that sense, they're as culpable as anyone because they understood that they were laying the foundation for, a real diminution of our democracy, a breakdown of our institutions. But in terms of whether we already know significant facts that are not public, I can't say that I do. We're trying to find out just in the Intelligence Committee, even before the Select Committee, what did the intelligence say? Why were we so ill prepared? And we still don't have the answers.
There was a development today from the Department of Justice pertaining to Department of Justice policy about former Trump administration officials testifying before the committee. Now, normally, this is sort of zealously guarded by the executive. They tend to take a very broad interpretation of executive privilege and not love Congress calling around them. But a letter today to former acting Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen saying the extraordinary events in this matter constitute exceptional circumstances warranting an accommodation to Congress in this case. That's about the possibility of testifying. How important is that to your committee?
Oh, it's very important. It means that one of the major obstacles that we encountered over the last 4 years in getting answers may not be an obstacle. That is, there may be people in the Trump administration that we need to testify, and they may fight it. But we won't be fighting the Justice Department at the same time. And if it does go to court, we will have the Justice Department making the argument with us, not against us. So that's huge. And you're right. It doesn't come easily. It doesn't come naturally to the executive branch that wants to preserve even the possibility of a privilege someday. So I consider that a very, very good sign.